Bula, Kia orana, hello from New Zealand and the Pacific to wherever you are in the world. Welcome to my first ever episode of the Straight Up Show. So this is where every week I'm going to be looking at interviewing all the health and sports leaders in their fields. And the main thing I'm looking for is I'm looking to see what makes them tick, what makes them successful, what drives them, what gets them out of bed in the morning, and generally just what makes them better people. And I'm, as I said, I'm really happy to have my partner in crime here, Kevin, here. And we are running Volt Rugby, so that was all Kevin's baby, and I'm helping him out with that. But not only that, he's an extraordinary man. We're going to have a lot of fun with him in the next hour. So welcome, Kevin. Thank you so much for coming along, and I love your outfit, mate. Explain a little bit about what you're wearing, please.
Cheers, thank you, Jeff. Well, you know, being the first show and all that, I thought I'd better come and get the tie on and, you know, put on the winners' colours for the evening, you know, to keep every Blues and Chiefs supporter happy out there.
I'm assuming you're a bit of a Hurricanes fan, mate. So sorry about the pre-season loss you suffered at the hand of the Blues at the weekend.
It was the referee.
As I said to you yesterday on our show, it's only pre-season, mate. Don't go beating yourself up too much. And for me as a Blues fan, I'm not going to get too excited about it. But let me introduce you anyway, mate. I'm absolutely staggered by what we have here. You run 11 websites. Let me run through those. You've got voltrugby.com, which is the new one that's just been established in the last month or so. Rugbyredefined.com, rugbyheartland.co.nz, worldfantasyrugby.com, clubrugby.co.nz, and you run the websites for the Wairarapa Bush, Thames Valley, Ngāti Porou East Coast, Whanganui, Bulla, and West Coast rugby unions, with a total reach of over 640,000 people. How do you manage that? When do you sleep, mate? What's going on? How did you get into this?
How do I sleep? I get about 4 hours a night, 5 hours, depending on when the good wife kicks me out of bed. But normally, basically, it all goes back to 1996. I'd had computers in the past with the old cassette tapes as our, you know, games and stuff. But I brought my first real online computer back in 96. Wondered what I was going to do with it. A friend of mine said, well, you like rugby, racing and beer. So I thought, okay, well, I can have a beer while watching the racing on trackside. Where's the rugby? Because even back then, you know, you'd only got your Saturday games or something like that, and Super Rugby was just kicking in. And so I developed the website worldfantasyrugby.com and made a bit of a game with it, and it just started growing from there. Got to see that there were other countries in the world that played rugby, and there was nothing really online, so I had to go really hunting for all the information about all the other players. And then off the top of my head, I can't exactly remember when, but I got the West Coast Rugby Union on board to do their website for them. And as good neighbours, Bulla decided, hey, come and do us. And then I managed to pick up Wairarapa Bush. And of course, Whanganui said, hey, come and do us. And then, believe it or not, I picked up East Coast. And then Poverty Bay said, come and do us. So there was a lot of, you know, if he's doing it for them, we want him on our team as well. So, and currently, you know, as you said, I look after several of the Heartland teams, Thames Valley as well. And and it's just a matter of just trying to get the information out there from those guys on the ground that do all the hard work in the office. So they don't have to worry about internet. They don't have to worry about formatting web pages and social media pages. And they just flick me the information and I whack it up for them on any given day or time.
That's amazing. So 640,000 subscribers, 11 websites, and 5 hours sleep a night, if that, maybe. So were you born with a rugby ball in your hand? Was that always your passion from years ago, or how did you slip into rugby? What is it about your early days?
Well, basically, no. I would probably think I was more born with a whip in my hand because my father. Yeah, my father was a jockey,
Oh, okay.
and my brother was a jockey, and my uncle was a jockey, and and with horse racing, you get highs and lows and all that. But I remember when I was like 15 or something, my brother was involved, rang up my mother and said, "Oh, I've been asked to look after this horse at the Melbourne Cup tomorrow." Oh, who? Oh, Kiwi. I went, brother's not going to win the Melbourne Cup. So I put all my money on Fountain Court and then stood there and watched my brother bring Kiwi back into the winner's enclosure, just kicking myself, going, "What? He wasn't meant to win the Melbourne Cup." And so, yeah, there's a lot of horse racing involvement in our family. So that's probably where I ended up being too tall. So there was no way I was going to follow in the footsteps. So I actually started playing soccer, football, for the mighty Stop Out Football Club in the Hutt Valley. Played for them for many years as a goalkeeper. And then, but then when I started getting sort of more into working, I started working into the pub game. And of course, I was working every Saturday, so I couldn't play normal sport like normal people. But Sundays were still closed to the public, right? So I ended up signing up, me and a friend playing for Fort Dorset Army Camp in Wellington. And it was on a Sunday, which was great because we could drink in the army bar, which was great. And the beers were cheap, which was even better. And so we'll be sitting there one Sunday afternoon and the rugby guys came in. I mean, I've always followed rugby, don't get me wrong, but the rugby guys came in and said, "We're short of players," and we were, "Yeah, we'll play," after probably sinking 2 crates of beer. And next thing I knew, there was not on more than one occasion after that, when they were playing home games and we were playing the football in the morning, I'd end up playing rugby for the army team in the afternoon. So that was fun. And but then about the year 2000, around, I was sort of, still doing all my internet stuff with rugby and learning all about how to work on the internet. And that's where I probably ended up trying to steer my career. And then, of course, 9/11 happens, and there was a guy, and he was a firefighter, played rugby in New York, and unfortunately got killed in the Twin Towers when they fell. And so that made me think, oh, well, how can I help these guys out, the family out? So I just went around people and got some memorabilia off them. Sir Brian the Hare, I remember going into his office when he was at the Wallboard and got him to sign a book, and I got all this other stuff signed by people, and we just auctioned it off and tried to get the money over to the people in the States. And then we went and played a game of rugby in a tournament here in Wellington. I thought, I better get fit now because I've been drinking too many beers. So I joined the local gym, and for 6 months, and this is my claim to fame, I was training next to Jonah Lomu for 6 months, thighs out to here. And I'm thinking, well, I'm not keeping up with him, but I'm keeping up with him. I'm thinking, this is good. And when the tournament began, I lasted about 15 minutes, walked off the field and said, that's my playing career over, hand me the whiskey bottle.
So it evolved then from obviously an interest or a skill in obviously computers and the internet to finding a real niche around obviously rugby. And then, as you said, the worldfantasyrugby.com website was the first one you got up and running. But also you mentioned then around some memorabilia, and this is where, as I said, I'm coming into all your jerseys and all the gear you got. So did that stir your interest in rugby memorabilia, that 9/11 tragedy and raising some funds for that rugby firefighter?
No, I mean, I've been collecting stuff well before that. I mean, it took me probably 16 years all up before I had every rugby almanac from New Zealand, going right back to the 1920s. It became a sort of like an obsession, Oh, can I find that 1948 almanac? Hunting through Trade Me and all that sort of stuff. But no, I mean, I've always I've been quite quirky. I've always liked collecting stuff. When I was a kid, magazine, football magazines, rugby news, doing your scrapbooks and all that sort of stuff. And but then when I started doing the rugby sites, that's when it probably really kicked off, because I started wanting to identify with the teams I was working for. So when I got a new client, whether it be North Otago, Mid Canterbury, who have now moved on, but that's okay. I'd say to them, okay, this is what I want. This is how much I charge, and I want a rugby jersey. So that way there, I was able to get all the Heartland jerseys, which is quite hard to do, unless you played for all 12 Heartland teams. And but then it just started building. And then, of course, with our good friend, Mr. Adidas, wanting to rip us off every year with a jersey. And I can say that because this is uncensored, because it's ridiculous what they charge for the jerseys. It started off with Canterbury and then moved into Adidas. But sometimes you look at the jersey and you go, oh, okay, like this year, for example, I looked at the new jerseys. I mean, do I really need another yellow one that looks like a yellow one? But I do like their black one. I've only got the one black one, and that was from the Lions tour, So on the stripes, of course. But so I'll probably get the black one to add to my collection of about 372 jerseys, which
372 jerseys. So does Coralie know about all these jerseys? Or have you sort of hidden them away from her? Because there's probably a couple of mortgages there.
Yeah, well, definitely is. There are some jerseys there that are very rare and sought after. I've had plenty of offers on some of the jerseys. To me, if they're played in jerseys, great. If they're not played in jerseys, I don't care. I mean, I've got jerseys from Antarctica. 2 rugby teams play in Antarctica. The Ice Blacks and the Antarctic Rugby Football Club, which is a mixture of Americans and Kiwis. Then I can look at the African nations, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Kenya. I've got those jerseys. Teams from Asia, Laos, Cambodia, and it's sort of like the running joke on some calls that you're involved with me on Zoom during the other weeks is someone might be on from Poland, and I'll go, oh, Poland, and I'll pull out the Polish rugby jersey, because I find it a great icebreaker, if anything, too, because all of a sudden you make that connection from the person from Poland, and they want to know more. I didn't even know they played rugby in Poland, and then away you go. And then, you might have someone else from Germany. You pull out your German jersey and go Germany, and they go, hey, I didn't know we played rugby, and you start educating these people around the world that this sport is played in their country, and that's why I enjoy doing it.
Well, this is a good time for me to, I guess, explain our little wee joke around my Sri Lankan tracksuit. So back I coached over in Sri Lanka for 3 years, the Super Series of Sevens, and one of the years the sponsors decided it was a good idea to bring out this bright yellow tracksuit, and there it is. And I wore it out to a party one night just for a bit of a laugh, and it was ill-fitting, but yellow. So I thought, I'm going to donate this. So I donated it to I think it was maybe a Salvation Army or an op shop or something like that. What happened then? Someone grabs it, throws it on Trade Me, and who buys it but Kevin here? And here's my, because no one else in New Zealand would have one. I was the only, well, there's 3 of us actually, 3 New Zealanders in the Central Kings in Sri Lanka. The other one of the other ones was Ben Boddicker, and he based himself in the UK. The other one's Zar Lawrence, and that wouldn't be Zar's tracksuit because he's too skinny. It wouldn't fit him too well. So that's my tracksuit. I'm guaranteed that is my tracksuit, and Kevin bought it off Trade.
Does it have your name in it?
No, I don't think I would have put my name in it. But good story there. So obviously you've just got Hurricanes jerseys there, but you've got pretty much every jersey in every union. Do these other unions that you do the websites for? Obviously, part of the deal, as you said, is they send you a jersey. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, if I go and watch Wanganui play King Country at Cook's Gardens, for example, I'll jump in the car. I'm based here in Wellington. I'll jump in the car, a couple of hour drive up to Wanganui, and I'll put on my Wanganui jersey and get there and go and sit in the press box. But Phil, yay, go Wanganui. I'm here to support Wanganui because I don't work for King Country. But then if Wanganui were playing Wairarapa, different story, because I've got both the Wairarapa and the Wanganui jerseys. I both work for both unions, so I literally have to sit there and just become. Sometimes I've got a, believe it or not, I've got some IRB referee jerseys. And sometimes I feel like just wearing a referee's jersey because you can't get much more neutral than that.
Try and remain neutral. And you also wrote a book. You wrote a book for Ngāti Porou East Coast on their, was it about their centenary?
Yeah, that is one of the highlights of my life. It took me about three and a half years to do. No one had ever written or published, shall I say, a history on East Coast, and it was their centenary last year. They were founded in 1921, and but they didn't play their first game, funnily enough, until 1923. So only the Cuzzies up there on the coast can stretch out a centenary over the next 3 years. Centenary when we were founded, centenary when we played our first game. So that's still not until next year, but. I tried to cover everything from papers past and other authors that may have written stuff that I was able to get hold of that never ended up being published. And it was great. Yeah, I had great feedback from everybody. And, I was a bit worried I might have had the odd mistake in it because, I've never written a book before. And but we sold out. And when I was talking to the publisher about it, I went, I'm still a bit concerned because I think I've made a couple of mistakes in the book. And he went, that's okay. It's a history book. You pick up any history book, there is a mistake in those history books. So I went, okay, sweet. So he's the publisher. He knows best. So we are looking at maybe doing a reprint and having up-to-date results in that book as well.
That's amazing, mate. And you mentioned, I remember you mentioned something earlier about numbering every player in that. What province was that you went through, and they gave you a year to do it, and you did it in 5 days? Tell me that story. That's amazing. Oh,
that was yes. It's Thames Valley. It's their centenary this year, the Swamp Foxes, and I was approached by the president, Kelly Plummer, to cap the players for Thames Valley, and I looked at it and went, okay, now. Before I done that, I've already done the Buller team, Wairarapa, Poverty Bay, and East Coast. So I said, yeah, okay. And I'm in the middle because there's a lot more players from Wanganui. I'm in the middle of doing Wanganui. But I thought, okay, well, we're coming up to Christmas. I'll try and get it done as fast as I can. Now, all the others normally took me a good 6 months to a year to do. Well, I knocked out the Thames Valley from number 1 to I think it's 1,240 odd in 4 weeks.
That's amazing.
That's
awesome.
People so that like will be released later in the year.
That's awesome. Because so you don't understand, or I guess you don't realise the impact you have on people and players in particular. I mean, for me personally, when I found out that I was a Waikato player number 893, that gave me a real sense of pride. It was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and really sort of linked me into the union a lot more than what I already was anyway. When I came up to Harbour and played for Harbour, I wouldn't have a clue what number Harbour representative I am. So maybe you need to come up and need to sort that Harbour website out, because I wouldn't have a clue as to what number I am.
I'm based here, and I can be in Antarctica and just work from anywhere, really.
Oh, excellent. Hey, so with the
capping, and I was just saying, I don't know if you heard it. Did you hear me saying about East Coast?
I dropped completely out.
Oh, well, that's okay. Well, Val Morrison, he got me to, he asked me what his dad's number was for East Coast, and as I said, I think it was 233 off the top of my head. And he goes, oh, that's great, because we're going to, we're sorting out his headstone today, and we're going to put his East Coast cap number on his headstone. And that just, I looked at that, and I, not in a million years, thought that's where my research would end up on someone's headstone,
Well, so it's amazing, and as I said to you, you don't understand that the impact you're having on people by the passion that you have, number one, and the work that you're doing for these unions, but also for ex-players and supporters, just to be able to look back on that, because there's nothing like history, as I said, and to be able to, like, the Ngāti Porou East Coast book. I mean, how cool was that to be able to look back on 100 years of Ngāti Porou East Coast, and someone has to do that, So this is the whole thing around what I'm trying to do with these podcasts is tap into the likes of yourself and just get an idea of what makes you tick, what gets you out of bed in the morning. And for me, what's coming across is the absolute passion you have for what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's recording the history thing. I mean, I love the genealogical things of families and, everyone doing family trees and DNA tests and all that. And I mean, I won't even shock you with what I found out about my relations. But, the weird thing is, like, on my mother's side, though, her grandparent, well, my grandparents and my great-grandparents, not my grandfather, my great-grandparents are actually buried in the cemetery behind Rugby Park in Hamilton. There's an old cemetery. I think it's called Whitaker Street or Whitmore Street or something like that. But I was up there for a funeral, unfortunately, and my cousin said, "Have you seen the mausoleum?" I went, "What?" And he took me, and it was like 5 generations going right back to the ones that came over from Ireland, now buried in this graveyard behind Rugby Park. And I just looked at that. So in theory, I should be supporting Waikato because that's where I got my whānau. But no, it's the Mulu. But cowbells, I don't like them.
I'll let you off with that one, mate. I'm a Waikato boy, but that's all good. Hey, so I remember years ago, so I've been following you for a long time now on social media, because obviously with the Rugby Redefined and the Heartland Rugby, it's always been good to keep up, and you've done such a great job with that. But you were always just a rabbit as far as folk can see. All you used to have was you as your little wee toy, and you'd just be this rabbit. And there it is. And it was just rabs, and you'd rave on, and you'd show us the rabbit with a beer or the score, etc. But then it's like you came out of the closet. It was like all of a sudden, hey, that's Kevin here. That's what he looks like. So was it what brought you to sort of come out and introduce yourself as Kevin here and move away from the rabbit?
Well, when I joined Facebook, I didn't want to join Facebook, and I thought, well, everyone calls me Rabbit, so I'll just do that. And the big rabbit, not the little one, was our actually team mascot back in 2000. I thought, all right, Rabbit, yeah. So I just started posting him in weird and wonderful places, drinking. I even took him to Wanganui once in the backseat of a car for Wanganui West Coast, and the West Coast boys are going, "Where's Rabs?" I said, "Oh, he's in the car. Go and get him." And next thing, we got photos of Nick coming and all that, all drinking beers with the rabbit in this bar. It's just like Rabbit, was taking over this bar. But it was more the case of it was around the time of me doing the book last year, and I knew that I'm going to be on TV, I'm going to be in newspapers. I knew that I was going to be out there, so I thought, oh well, if I'm going to be out there on media, I might as well come out.
And one of the big pages you had, and you would have had, I don't know, 25, 30,000 subscribers at the time, the Rugby Redefined website, I think that I was a subscriber of. Brilliant content, and all of a sudden it got hacked and you lost it. How did you bounce back from something like that, something you'd built up so much and put so much time into, and then just waking up one morning, all of a sudden someone's hacked it and you've lost everybody?
Yeah, well, basically the website still goes, rugbyredefined.com. It was our Facebook page. And I'd had a person, approaching me to do advertising and all that. And this was still relatively new a couple of years ago. And I did due diligence. The guy was Jeff. He looked like Jeff, and he, la-di-da, and I thought, oh, okay. But he called me about 1:30 one morning and says, "Have you thought about it?" And I went, "Oh, come on then, let's do it. What do we got to do?" And he goes, I need, to be editor on the site. I went, "On the Facebook page?" I went, "Yeah, okay." And by this stage, I was kicking myself, because what happened was he went in, kicked me off as an admin, made himself an admin, made me an analytics person, so I couldn't do nothing. I could just see stats. And unfortunately, since then, he's done nothing with it. I mean, it's still got the last round of the Hamilton Sevens World Series table on it. So, if he had gone and done something bad to it, fine. But I mean, I've been trying to get it back off Facebook. It's still got my email address, which I still use. It's still got my website on there, my name and everything like that. but I just keep going around in circles. So anyway, I thought, okay, well, there was 35,000 odd people following us there. We had a good reach, and I thought, oh, well, I've put too much into it, really, and I'm not going to let this get me down. So I just relaunched the page, told everybody in the comments section, because that was the only place I could comment on the old page, saying, look, this arsehole has removed me as admin. Come to our new page, and currently there's about 3,500 people there. But to get to the 35,000 without actually buying people, like pages do, that took me several years to get to that. So after about a year, we're at about 3,500 now. When rugby season starts, we tend to get an increase. So I'm hoping we'd be around the 10,000 mark by the end of this year.
Yeah, excellent. That's a good comeback. So it's a good example there of just picking yourself up, dusting yourself off, and just moving on and trying again, because you probably could easily have just chucked it in and just thought, oh, this is too hard. But obviously, as I said, you've done the hard yards, and now you're building that one back up again. That's brilliant, mate. Tell me a bit about Vault Rugby then. So I'll tell you my little story as to how you and I got connected into what we're doing here now. Is obviously during lockdown here in New Zealand, for me and my clinic and my chiropractic clinic, we were shut. We were shut completely. So there's no income. And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I need another source of, or another stream of income. And at that stage, what I was doing was I was doing a lot of Facebook videos and Instagram videos, generally for my patients, but generally for the population, stretches, exercises, maybe a bit of motivation, get up and go, etc. But I wasn't getting anything back for it, because realistically, it would have been nice if someone in Torbay had seen that and thought, oh, I might, once we get back to work or whatever, I might ring up Jeff and go in and be a new patient in his clinic. Fantastic. But realistically, if someone's over in Australia or the UK or the US and they're watching my videos, they're not going to jump on a plane and come and be a new patient in my clinic. So basically, I was putting all that effort out there, projecting myself, and really getting very little in return. So I wrote down all the skills that I had, because I feel as I've got a lot to offer people. I've been an international rugby player, international rugby coach. I'm a doctor of chiropractic. I've got a skill set there that I think I can offer people. So how can I project myself? And I thought, I just need a platform. I need something that people can maybe pay for my content or whatever. I was sort of really thinking, how can I do this? And the universe must have listened to me, Kevin. And I've told you this a number of times, because the very next day, you just phoned me out of the blue and said, hey, look, here's this opportunity. I've got this this platform called Noble Goldman. I think it'll suit you. I'm planning on running a rugby page. There's all these different pages. And I just thought, whoa, this is pretty cool. And so with your help and your guidance, we've actually set up Vault Rugby, but I've also got my chiropractic Vault. I'm doing this now, my StraightUp page. But on this platform, as we've talked about before, we've got someone talking about gold and silver currency, crypto. We've got real estate. We've got breathing routines. We've got yoga. There's personal development, motivation. I mean, it's just limitless. I call this Netflix and YouTube on steroids, and it's a great platform. So you yourself, you've designed Vault Rugby, and I've sort of come on board to help you out a bit. Every Tuesday morning, 10 a.m., you and I sit down and we grab a cuppa and we have a chat about the weekend's rugby. So what do you see the future of Vault Rugby? What's the big vision around it? Because at the moment, we're real grassroots, aren't we? We're just learning to walk. My saying all the time is, if we build it, they'll come. And we've seen that already with our clubhouse. We've seen it already with our Tuesday morning chats, etc. There's a lot of interest that we've done just in the last month. So explain to everybody around what your visions are for Vault Rugby and how that works.
Yeah, thanks. Basically, it's to get the message out there. And with the Noble Goldman and the Vault platform, it's sort of like we're actually breaking some sort of personal development ceiling, I suppose you could say, because there is a lot to learn in there. There's a lot of teaching, a lot of everything going on. But one of the things you say, the 80-20 rule, you can't just be sitting there learning for 100% of the time. So what I'm trying to bring here, and which will be awesome as we move forward, is, we've only just dug the hole. We haven't even mixed the concrete yet for the foundations,
Exactly.
But the thing is, we'll have our Larry King inspired shows with past great players or current players, past coaches, trainers even, or even team physios. Everyone's got a part to play. And heck, if I have to get the water boy on one day as a last resort, we'll do that,
Mhm.
But it's just to find out, not just here in New Zealand, but around the world. So, like, I'm over the next few days, I'm actually reaching out to quite a few leaders in countries around the world, inviting them to be part of the team, to talk to us about the rugby in the Middle East or rugby in the Americas and whatever. Because then once we can get these contacts in place, we can have a revolving 24-hour all-you-can-eat rugby channel where people can be involved with. So then once we get all the nuts and bolts in place, then we'll look at bringing on people talking about mental health, trainings, how to overcome injury, and all these other wonderful things that a lot of people don't know, including life after rugby. You hear quite a few horror stories, as you're aware, of people that, especially the professional guys, they've been quite fit and healthy and well looked after, first class all the way to New York to play America and all that sort of stuff. And then when they finish playing, that's it. What are they going to do next? What is your next step? And we'll hopefully be bringing in ex-players who have taken that next step, and to help maybe guide some of these young guys through to say, even though they do all the teaching now, especially here in New Zealand, I don't know how the rest of the world operates, but that will be something to learn too. How do they do that in Australia, where there's only a small group of people? How much teaching do they do to those young guys and girls now about, when your career's finished with the Brumbies, now what? So
it's all about communication and connections, and the rugby network is massive. It's not just rugby players, it's the as you said, managers, coaches, the water boys, the trainers, the physios, it's the supporters, the people up in the stands. But you hit it on the head there as well. It's like life after rugby, so we can chat about that. You chat about mental health. Concussions is a big thing in rugby nowadays as well. So what we're looking at expanding on here is the whole world of rugby, and then just all the associates with that. It was interesting because we've got Tony Taylor and the Noble Goldman, professional golf player, former LPGA golf player, now a current LPGA golf coach. Now we could set up a bit of a rugby and golf, because they go hand in hand too. And also too, isn't it crazy, the connection now we have with John Tinsley? Now he's a former chiropractor that I went to school with, and now all of a sudden he's connected with you, and now he's in with Martin Iasefa, who's in the USA 15s and 7s team. And now they're looking at branding the NFT, the non-fundable tokens, which is the new big thing now on the internet. Just massive. It's gone over my head. I really want to learn a lot more about that, but we can learn about that stuff here too. It's really, really cool.
Well, that's the thing, Jeff, because the platform that we are on with Vault Rugby, if you wanted to learn more about chiropractic, you can head over to see you and the team that you're building there. But then if you're into real estate, there are people there that will tell you from all over the world their tips and tricks around selling real estate and how to get into your customer's mindset. And if you're into crypto, there's a couple of different groups there in the NG and Vault that will teach you all about crypto. And the great thing is, though, we all use the Zoom, and you can have all these people on, but you can join in, listen to them for half an hour, sharing their knowledge, and then you can ask them a direct question, which is the beauty, I reckon, of it. Because I'm going to a luncheon, if it's still on, in March, and it's already been postponed twice. But you go there and you listen to guys like Case Muse, Carlos Spencer, Brodie Retallick, maybe, I don't know, just all these current players and ex-players at this luncheon raising money for a charity. But you go and try and have a chat to these people, and it's almost impossible because there's 100 people around them all wanting to chat or get selfies, right? So this is a good way to be in a controlled environment and ask the question that you've always wanted to ask that player, you know, and what is that player doing now? And if a player's selling orange juice and that's his living, you might go, well, I loved you so much, I'm just going to drink your orange juice now. Where can I buy it? And that's an opportunity for then that player to expand his business. So it's just all about spreading the word, spreading the word, spreading the love. Yeah.
Networks, communication, and that's the two, live and interactive. It's really cool. I mean, what we're doing here now, you know, as I said, this is episode 1, but I'm going to be putting out links for episode 2 where people can register for free. And so what they do then is they can actually come into the Zoom call with us. My guest next week, Dr. Sarah Farrant, she's one of the most respected chiros in the world. She's a published author, published 2 books as well. So huge in the chiropractic and health and wellness field. So there's going to be a lot of interest around that chat that I have with her. And so people then, as I said, even with Vault Rugby, when we have our chats on Tuesday morning, register, get a free account, jump on in, have a look around, and then come and be live and interactive with us. Because like any video, I mean, we can watch this, someone could watch us tomorrow, but they can't actually interact with us. You know, there's a big difference there, isn't there? So it's cool to sort of ask the questions.
Oh, totally. And I mean, in 6 months' time, they'll be watching this and they'll be going, gee, that guy knew the Hurricanes were going to win the Super Rugby. I should have listened to him 6 months ago and got some money on the TAB.
Absolutely, mate.
But that's the thing, you know, because the thing is, you know, I'm sure we'll be setting up YouTube. Well, I've got a YouTube channel, but I'm sure we can help set you up a YouTube channel, not just to have it on Facebook, but, you know, you've got your own website too, which I helped build, chirovault.co.nz. Now on there's everything you need to know, and all the links to join with Jeff, and then there's a link there for me somewhere for Vault Rugby. But it does give you an insight, and what I do like about those 2 sites is we've got a video on there called the Vault Panel. Now on that Vault Panel, you've got about 30 people, I think it is, all doing like just a 2-minute quick spiel on who they are and where they're from and what they're about. And we go from everything from, you know, personal development to spiritual healing to me and Jeff, to, you know, crypto and all that. But the great thing is, it just goes, it's a really good video because it actually shows the broadness of what we've got to offer. And some people will get it and some people won't. The ones that don't get it, our arms are always open, you know.
Yeah.
Take a look at what we're doing and what we're building.
For me, it's about you got the choice. You can be both. You can either be a consumer and absorb all the knowledge, or you can be a presenter, or you can be both. And so, again, it's up to you. But the money value when you buy into what we're doing here now it's nothing compared to what you're getting out of it. It's just unreal, isn't it? So totally. I look at what we did a couple of weekends ago. That's going to take off. I reckon, you know, the clubhouse, that is just, how cool was that when you had people, you had Katsi jump in from Poland, and, you know, we had these people popping in and saying g'day, and we're having a beer, we're watching the Sevens. We've got it live streamed here on a live Zoom, and people popping in and out watching games with us, and we're having a bit of a chat about the rugby. And so the clubhouse is something that I think is going to really take off, especially through the Super Rugby season, or the Six Nations is kicking off as well. So you said, you know, as I said, you mentioned what I say about the 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time it is very focused, it's very, you know, with personal growth, personal development. But there's that 20% of the time you've got to have that banter, you've got to have that fun, you've got to let your hair down as well. And I think you and I do that pretty well on this platform. And so when is the next clubhouse, Kevin? You want to explain a bit more about that? What's going on?
Yeah, well, basically, I might run one this weekend, only because I mean we're at the 15 stage of life at the moment. It's a bit hard to do anything live on Facebook. And like the Six Nations or Super Rugby and stuff like that. But using the Zoom platform, it's a private call. I can hopefully share stuff that we probably shouldn't be sharing, but it's a private phone call, and you're just joining in and watching what we're doing. But we've got some big games coming up in Europe, in the Rugby European Championship, Game 7, Round 2 for 2022. And off the top of my head, I think we've got Spain playing the Netherlands, Georgia playing Portugal. Oh, no, that was last weekend. But anyway, I can't remember off the top of my head because I haven't even written it down yet. But, the top 2 teams in that competition get direct access to next year's Rugby World Cup. And at the moment, the team that comes third goes to the qualifying. But at the moment, Georgia's quite out there and they'll qualify. But it's coming down to Portugal, Spain, and Russia. There's a ding-dong battle there for the automatic place and the qualifying place. There's only 2 points between them. So, and they're great games to watch. But so we've got that. But then on top of that, I'm not even too sure exactly when it is, but the next round of the HSBC World Sevens, we'll be covering all that. That's in Vancouver, I believe.
Well, hopefully New Zealand and Fiji are going to be there.
Yeah, so hopefully we'll be there and stop this world record running win. Well, not world record because they haven't got near our record.
The Clayton's
but
one.
They're now saying we're second place with New Zealand equal. And then they had the audacity to say which team would win, like the current team or that team that won the 34 games in a row. And I'm just looking and going, yeah, but then you would have been beaten by Fiji. You would have been beaten by us somewhere in those 34 matches. So it's a Clayton's record.
Sorry, South Africans, but nah, you're a Clayton's champion. That's all I can say. If New Zealand and Fiji aren't playing, ain't real.
Well, I like South Africa, but when they play us, they're right up there as an Auckland team for me. But if South Africa were playing Australia, I'd always lean towards the Springboks. But I'll just let you into a quick secret here. I came across an article today about the first Wallabies team to go to Europe in 1908. Well, when they arrived, they were known as the Rabbits.
Oh, wow. There you go, eh? Geez, so you could have been, you're wearing yellow.
Yeah, well, yeah. But yeah, so they were known as the Rabbits, and it wasn't until after they arrived, they had heard that the reporters had nicknamed them the Rabbits after the Springboks and the All Blacks, which is interesting because I don't think we'd been called the All Blacks yet. So they turned around the team and went, no, we want to be called, and they had a vote and they came up with the Wallabies tag. So originally the Aussies were Rabbits. So
there you go. You're just a wealth of knowledge, Kevin, mate. You're an absolute legend. So look, what I think I might do, we might just sort of wrap it up a bit there. I've asked a few questions of you and put you on the spot, and so I just want to thank you so much for being my first guest on this. We'll look back in years to come, and when I've got 100 million viewers like Joe Rogan or whatever it is, and it's the Straight Up show, the most famous show in the world, we can look back at my first guest, Kevin Hare, the man, the rugby man with all the knowledge, all the memorabilia, and thanks again for all the work you do for all the rugby community, not just in New Zealand, but all around the world, mate. You're an absolute superstar. Really appreciate everything you've done.
Thanks. Yeah, no, thanks. And thanks for letting me be the first guest. And as you said, Dr. Sarah's on next week, and then you've got Chelsea and James on the following week. That is the show I'm not going to miss, and I hope if they're watching, please, each one of them, one wear a blue, one wear a Waikato jersey, because I want to see you two go for it live on air. That'll be fun.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So I do, as Kevin's alluded to there, I've got my next few guests booked in for the next month or so, and so next week, Dr. Sarah Farrant's going to join me. The week after that, Chelsea Alley, who also doubles up as my niece. Her name now is Chelsea Semple after her wedding last weekend, and her husband James Semple will be there. Now, Chelsea is a current Black Fern, but she also plays for the women's Chiefs team, and James is the current coach of the Waikato women's team, but he's also now the assistant coach of the Blues women's team. So we're going to chat to them, and that'll be about a week before the Blues and Chiefs women's set for battle. So it'll be interesting to hear from them and just see what married life's like with them. So that's in 2 weeks' time. So be sure to register, jump on in and ask some questions and and yeah, interact. That'll be pretty cool. That'll be awesome. So once again, Kevin, thank you, mate. I'm going to end this Facebook stream now, and appreciate you being on. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.